Hi there, my name is Trinity, and today we are going to wrap up my reading month of April. So, the month of April was very interesting. I was in a reading slump. I also worked my little tushy off. Life was just crazy this month. I did, however, manage to read 9 books. And I'm very proud of that because I was genuinely thinking I was gonna read none. Let's get right into the books I read in April. Following March's little obsession, we did go ahead and start reading the Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber because I physically can't rip myself out of the Caraval universe. Like, I love it so much. That being said, I did rate this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Hear me out. I was so hyped for this book. Like, I was so freaking excited to read it. Like, I could not wait. I was so excited. In this book, if you do not know what it is about, we are following Evangeline Fox, who makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, Jax, and she is exchanging 3 kisses of his choosing, anytime, anywhere, any person, in order for him to stop the wedding of her one true love, who is marrying her stepsister, which is really out of pocket. Obviously, he's a fate, so things go a little crazy, and from there, the story just descends into madness. I only rated it a 4 out of 5 because I was just it didn't live up to my great giant expectations. Like, I was expecting a lot more. I built it up too much in my head, I think. I really love these characters. I loved the little glimpses of the people we got in Caraval. If you don't know, this is a series that follows the Caraval trilogy. People say you can read this by itself, or you could just read the Caraval trilogy, or a lot of people say read Caraval and then this trilogy. I read it so that I read Caraval and then I'm reading this trilogy, so it follows like in a continuous timeline, which I personally think is a really good way to do it. That way you get a lot more out of the story. I think the story for me really picked up at page 320. Things started getting crazy. I love this first book. It was a really good time. Oh, and one last thing I want to say about Stephanie Garber. Calm down. She's such a vivid storyteller. Like, transported. Every time I'm transported. Anyway, we'll get back to Stephanie Garber. Don't even worry. Ladies and gentlemen, people of all genders, we started a reading slump. Then we got into our reading slump. We started that reading slump with Collided by Lauren Asher, which is the second book in the Dirty Air series. If you don't know what that is, it is an F1 racing series, and we're following this friend group of racers. In this one, we are following Sophie and Liam. Sophie is like one of the top racing team's manager's daughter, whereas Liam is an up-and-coming racer. I'm not sure. The whole plot of this one is that Sophie's been a good girl all her life. She has this little naughty bucket list that she wants to do by the end of this F1 racing season. And Liam gets a glimpse of that list and he's like, hey, baby girl, let me do that with you. I rated this one a 2.5 out of 5 stars. And I don't think it's Lauren Asher's fault. I think it's mine. I genuinely think it's mine. However, I could not stand Sophie. Liam was the redeeming factor for this book. Liam was such an amazing character. I really loved him. I love a good blonde male character, which is so toxic of me, I know. He carried this book, in all honesty. Like, his character, he had such complex emotions going on. He had like reasons for what he was feeling, whereas I felt Sophie was just like a young little girl who didn't know how to dress herself well. She was annoying. I really liked their friendship, and I like how their friendship developed, but then all of a sudden it was like, okay, now we're doing stuff and now we're in love, and I just genuinely didn't see them as a couple. I saw them as friends and I loved their friendship, and I think they should have just stayed friends. You know how in romance books there are like epilogues at the end? I barely even made it to the epilogue. Like, I just did not give a crap about what happened to them. I was like, okay, sorry, Lauren Asher, I will get to the rest of the Dirty Air series, but it's not looking like it's gonna be anytime soon. Now we have a book that lives in my head rent-free, and every time I glance up at the shelf and I look at it, or someone talks about it, or I think about it, I start crying. We have The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, the second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. So I see where it got good. And it got me good. I love this book so much. I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. At the end of this book, I was absolutely blown away, and I had to go to TikTok to consult and talk with my peers to figure out what the heck happened in this novel. This series, more than anything, reads like a fairy tale series, which I love a good fairy tale. I love princesses, I love kingdoms, I love all of that. And this duet so far reads like a little fairy tale series, but with more love and more angst and more morally gray characters like Jax. This one is following the events of Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to spoil it. However, why do we have to wait until October for the third book? I think I genuinely want to go back and like annotate everything horrible, but I just read them last month, so I don't think I can do that. That's not allowed yet. But there is a quote in this book that I'm going to say that I did love more than anything, and it's not a spoiler for anything. Are we ready? He held her like a secret. Who the F wrote that? Who wrote that? Because that got me in my feels. I was like swooning. I was swooning. He held her like a secret. I'm still not emotionally well from this book. I read this like, I don't even know, like 3 weeks ago, and I'm still not okay. I love this book. And then after that last book, I was definitely deep in a slump, so I did not want to read anything. But I did indeed pick up Killjoy by Holly Jackson, the prequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. In this book, we are following Pip as her and her friends have this little murder mystery dinner party, fake obviously, and we kind of get to see her passion for like solving crimes and justice and like see that come out. We also see how incredibly smart Pip is and how she will always be my most favorite female main character in the world ever. She is just superior. Like, I know she's not like a fighting dragons or anything, but like in the real world, Pip is bae and Pip is queen. I rated this novella a 4 out of 5, which I know is a lot for a novella because it's not even like 100 pages. It's so short and so super quick. I just love the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series so much, and I love Pip, and I love the way Holly Jackson tells the story so much that I was like, I possibly can't rate it lower. It has to be a 4. I did gasp and I was shocked, and I did love the lead up into like the original series. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was great. 4 out of 5. I love you, Pip. And then we got into my library girl era, where my library actually lets you borrow books and they download onto your Kobo. We are Canadian girlies. It is a Kobo here in Canada, at least for me. The first one I read there was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle 7. I have seen this book legitimately everywhere, and I did not feel like paying like $50 for a copy of this book, so when I got the lucky little thing on my Kobo, I needed to read it ASAP. In this book, we are following Sadie and Sam, who were childhood friends at this hospital. They became friends, something happens, they don't talk for a million years, but they really bonded over video games, and when they're getting back into like their college university years, they reconnect, and Sam is like, Sadie, we need to make a video game, because Sadie is going to school to be a video game designer and Sam is just smart. So they build this game, spend an entire year doing it. Their friend Marks ends up happening, and then it's honestly their lives. We follow them basically start to almost finish of their lives as friends, their loves, their friendship, their connection when they don't talk, everything. We get everything. And this book is so incredibly beautiful. I physically hurt from thinking about this book. I rated this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. For some reason, love books that deal with video games. I don't know what it is. I don't understand what it is about them. I don't play video games whatsoever. I think it's just the concept. The concept is so cool to me. There is one specific chunk in this novel that had me sobbing on my couch, and then I had to put the book down. Yeah, nobody mentioned the crying part, unless people just didn't care about it as much as I did. I don't know. It was just such a vivid, gorgeous, poetic way of writing. I loved the story. I like how she would throw something in and then come back to it later. I only rated it 4.5 out of 5 stars just because I felt there were certain parts that were really slow that didn't really add a lot to the story, but I love this book regardless. Gabrielle 7, if you come out with another book similar to this, hit me up, girl, because I want to die. It was so good. It's worth the hype, I would say. Definitely worth the hype. Great book. Speaking of emotional trauma, I did post a vlog reading this book for the day, and I finally got around to reading Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings, which I have rated a 4.5 out of 5 stars, as I mentioned in that other video. We'll talk so super brief about it because I talked endlessly about that book in the other vlog. This book was immediately I felt immediately way more connected to the characters, way more in this world. Like I cared about them so much more right off the bat. And I don't know what it was about this novel compared to the first Magnolia Parks or like Daisy Hates. I all of a sudden cared like a lot, and I was so invested in their drama, in their story, in their love, in the friends, in like everything that was happening in their world. I was like, I'm in. This book was so fast paced. It's not so much of like a plot story. It's more like a day-to-day, their life sort of thing, but their lives are so interesting that I just flew through this book. I thought it was so amazing. The ending did leave me hurt. I don't know what it was about this month and me emotionally hurting with the books I was reading, but yay! I am genuinely afraid to keep going because now I have to read Daisy Hates The Great Undoing, which is sitting over there, and it's gonna hurt. Guys! I did it. I know you don't see it up there and you're like, did she finally read? I did finally read it. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I read it and I was so happy I did. It is such a cozy little fantasy world and I felt so comfy in this novel. We are following Jude, who is taken with her twin and her other sister when they are 7 years old into this fairyland because of something. And then we see her grow up in this world and all she wants to do is fit in, which is very hard for a human girl in a fairy world because the fairy are like, y'all suck, you are awful. And Jude is like, I just want to fit in, but like, I'm not gonna fight you all. Like, Jude's a badass, is what I have to say. Jude is amazing. I loved the story. I was so into her and Prince Carden, who is indeed the Cruel Prince. I loved their dynamic. I loved him as a character, and I am endless amounts of excited to see where this goes. So I will continue to talk more about this series later on. I did rate this one a 4 out of 5 because I thought it was a wonderful way to introduce you into the world and to go into it. It wasn't anything like, oh my god, my mind is effing blown. Like I wasn't blown away, but I was definitely happy, and I'm so excited I read this book, and I'm very excited that I liked this book because I hear it's 50-50 and I feel on the happy side, so that was really positive. And then the last 2 books I read I also borrowed from the library. So I read Funny You Should Ask by Elisa Sussman. In this novel we are following Chani and Gabe. Chani is an upcoming journalist. Gabe is like a super famous actor who has just been cast as the next James Bond. A lot of people don't like that, so they enlist Chani to write this article to kind of zhuzh him up and make him like, yeah, he's gonna be a great James Bond. However, through this interview, they do spend an entire weekend together with some sort of special connection. She releases an article and then boom, 10 years go by, they haven't talked, nothing. And everyone's like, so did you like sleep with him? And she's like, oh my god, don't I wish? And to which I say, we all wish, don't we? This book read super quickly. We are watching them as we reconnect. We get dual timelines. We get little snippets of like little articles that are going on throughout. I really enjoyed the way the story was told. I rated it a 3.5 out of 5 star, only because I read this merely for entertainment. It wasn't like a memorable book, but it was a fun one, and I did enjoy my time here. I really liked the way Gabe was written, and he had a dog. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I was entertained. It's nothing to write home about, but it was a great book, and I know she has another one coming out, and when that comes out, I'd love to read it because it seems really fun. The last book I actually was listening to as an audiobook, and I did have this on loan for 21 days, and I did not finish it. And it wasn't anything to do with the book. I read Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I got 83% through the book. I had 1 hour left and then it got returned and I just wasn't paying attention. And this week has been so crazy and I did not get to finish this book. I'm a little upset. However, I didn't give it a rating because I did not finish it, unfortunately. I really would have liked to finish it. We are following Simon Snow, and it's basically, if you've ever read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, she is writing this fan fiction about Simon Snow and Baz. This audiobook, Carry On, is that fan fiction. And boy oh boy did it read like fan fiction. I loved the narrator, he was really good. And yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it, unfortunately. I was really enjoying it, and then we got to one part in the book and I was just like, it was really fan fiction-y, so I just don't think I'm gonna keep reading them all. I would have liked to at least have finished the first book, but I didn't, so sorry. Yay! I read 9 books in April. That is quite the accomplishment for your girly. We just had a lot of books that really hurt this month, and we read from the library because we've been saving money. How long is that gonna last? probably not long, there are the 9 books I read in April. So thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Thank you for commenting, liking, subscribing. If you didn't notice, there's something new back there. I did reorganize my shelves. I don't know if I like it. We'll think about it. But anyway, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you had a wonderful April. Give lots of love, lots of kisses. Bye guys.